Parak tests. We're holding in the middle of the parak. We're speaking about what happened on the fifth day of creation, Thursday, and we mentioned the things that Hashem created on Thursday, the birds and the fish and the grasshoppers. And now Parak Devalos is going to take a little break and say a little drush in the middle. And then it's going to say a bunch of other things that happened on Thursday historically, and it's going to go back to what Hashem created on the Thursday of creation. Okay, so up to the words Rabbi Lezer Aimer. Last week we spoke about different things the way we translated it as they crawled out of the water, the fish and the birds and the creepy crawly things crawled out of the water. So Rabbi Lezer is going to make a drush about that. Rabbi Lezer Aimer. It's not just talking about things crawling out of the waters. We're not just talking about things crawling out of the water. We're also talking about things crawling around, but we're talking about the goyim who are compared to water. Shneur, he brings a pasuk in Yeshaya. It says, the multitudes of nations are like the multitudes of water. Just like there's a lot of water, there's a lot of different types of goyim and a lot of goyim in the world. So something has to do with crawling, right? So it says, Kashem shishartzu hamayim bayemahu. Just like in the fifth day of creation, things crawled out of the waters. Kach asidim umas ha'olam lishret ba'olam v'nilchamim elu im elu lahashchis. So too in the future, all the nations of the world are going to crawl all over the planet, and they're going to fight each other in order to destroy each other. In other words, world war. Shinamar, that says in the pasuk, v'chutzu goy v'goy v'ir be'ir kelikim hamamam b'chol tzara. Each nation is going to be smashed with the other nation, and the city is going to be smashed by another city. And after it talks about these goyim being the different nations being smashed by each other, it says afterwards Teshuas Yisrael, the salvation of Klal Yisrael. Shenamar, it says in the pasuk, V'atem chizku v'al yirpu yedechem, and you should strengthen yourselves and don't let your hands become weak. So they're saying a little drush over here about how the fifth day of creation, with things crawling out of the water, has to do with the fact that the goyim are going to fight each other in the end of days. The Radal says that this maybe has to do with the Yom Chamishi, has to do with the Elef HaChamishi. The fifth day of creation has something to do with the fifth millennium of the existence of the world, and that's why it's a remez to this eventual world war where the different nations of the goyim are going to destroy each other. The Marzu points out another nukuda that the Chazal say that or not even just Chazal, Pasha in the Metzias, the way it works in the water, the big fish swallows the little fish, and the bigger fish swallows the big fish, and the bigger one and that eats that. That's the way it works. So he's saying they lost it lover. That's how it's going to be also. The big nation is going to swallow up the little nations, and then the bigger nation is going to swallow up that nation, and that's just the way, that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. Fine. Right there. Kol naharais. Now he's going to say another drush over here about the relationship between Klal Yisrael and the nations of the world. Kol naharais, all the rivers. It's on page Ayin Vav in your print, in the middle of the page, after the two dots. Kol naharais. All the rivers, kishem shehem mahalchem al haaretz, just like when rivers are going in the land, hem toivim ubruchim umesukim, they're good and they're blessed and they're sweet. V'yesh behen hanoya la'olam, and they benefit the world. Let's say it like this, the way the Radal explains it. A river, when it's flowing, the waters of the river are toivim, they're good, they're healthy. If you drink river water, it's healthy for you. It doesn't damage you. Ubruch, and it's mesukim. It's sweet. Not only is it healthy, but it tastes good also. It's refreshing. Ubruchim, and they're blessed. What does it mean that it's blessed? If you use such waters to plant to water your field, or to plant things in the waters, they'll grow. They'll grow properly because these waters are rejuvenating.
Isn't mesukim a word that defines that it's like its taste is better than average, but just like as opposed to salty water that's like impossible to drink? I don't know if there's enough coming in my question just like that. But like, like what's Mesukim?
I don't know. You don't.
Good, like just like it's not bad.
You don't have a raya either way over here. But it sounds. I think it sounds. It's especially good. But here we're gonna say the opposite as well. But we'll see. So we have these 3 milas in river water. The river water it's healthy, it tastes good, and it's benefit to the world because things it helps facilitate growth for plants and other such things.
That's the Brooklyn.
Right. Nichnasu layam, but when the river goes into the ocean, it goes into the sea, then and it joins in with the salt water of the sea, then meurim, they're cursed waters, ro'im, they're bad, umerurim, and they're bitter, and it doesn't benefit the world, right? Because the ocean water, first of all, it's salty. So if you drink a lot of ocean water, it's not good for you. If you drink, it's not, and it doesn't have a good taste. It tastes salty. It's not geschmack to drink it, and it's cursed because it doesn't facilitate growth. If you try watering your plants with salt water, you're going to kill them. It has the exact opposite effect. The salt water destroys. It doesn't facilitate growth. So just like when the rivers of the world, they have all these milas and join together with the oceans, then all the waters that used to be in the river, they have the same chesroinus that exist in the oceans. Kach Yisrael shebaytchem betzel yotzrom. So too Klal Yisrael, when they believe in Hashem and they rely on Hashem, the shadow of their Creator, him beruchim umesukim yesh ben hanal olam. They're blessed and they're sweet and they benefit the world. Chazal say that Hashem said to Avraham, all the families of the world will be blessed through Klal Yisrael. Meaning that Klal Yisrael is the blessed nation, and if you want to say that you should be blessed, so you say, oh, you should be like the Jews. The Jews, they're rich, they're this and that, whatever. So we say you give someone a bracha, you should be like the Jews. They'll be blessed through Klal Yisrael. And Mesukim, Klal Yisrael would be good. They're Mesukim, they're sweet when they're relying on Hashem because they're connected to the Torah. The Torah is Mesukim midvash nefesh suvim. It's sweeter than honey. And they benefit the world. But when Klal Yisrael deviates from Hashem, and they start believing in the chukos of Avodah Zarah, and they start deviating from Hashem, then then they become like the ocean water. They become cursed and bad, and they don't benefit the world. So when Kriyas is like a river and it's flowing on its own separately from the multitudes of the ocean, then it's good. When it starts joining in, then it becomes bad. That's the drush over here. And the Radal points out, the Gemara says, where we said that it's Hano La'olam, Klal Yisrael benefit the world. What does that mean? So the Gemara in Parshas, the Gemara in Yevamis Daf Samech Gimel Amar Aleph brings the pasuk v'nivruchu v'yisparuchu v'zaracha kol gayei ha'aretz. The Gemara says, "Afil sfinos haboyis migalia laspamia, enen mizborach Yisrael b'shvol Yisrael." Even the boats that are traveling from Galia, which is Gaul, ancient France was called Gaul, to Aspamia, which is Spain. Even the boats which are going from France to Spain, which had no shaykhs to the Jewish settlements, right? They're only blessed because of Klal Yisrael. Hashem only causes bracha to come to them for Klal Yisrael. But as the Radal points out, on the same page of the Gemara says, "Ein puranis bala olam ela b'shvil Yisrael." Punishment only comes to the world because of Klal Yisrael. The Rashi says to teach Klal Yisrael that bad things could happen if they don't do tshuva. So on the one hand, Klal Yisrael, when they're doing the right thing, good things come to the world, to the whole world because of Klal Yisrael. And on the other hand, if Klal Yisrael is not doing the right thing, then bad things come to the world dafka because of Klal Yisrael. And that's the mashal over here with the Klal Yisrael is like a river, and when they're doing the bad thing, it's like a river that joined in with the ocean. Okay, and then he has another line over here that I don't know exactly what it means, but we'll read it. Just like the waters of the river is food for the sea, so too the waters of the river is food for the fires of Gehenna. Any thoughts?
Food
the fire of Gehenna?
That's what it says. Maichal li'isha shel Gehenim.
The rivers are food, fires of Gehenna.
I don't know what that means. Okay. V'chol hageshamim yardim bayam. All the rain comes down to the sea as well. It doesn't just rain on the land; it also rains over the ocean. Why? Zerahem lasher bayam. The rainwater is a zera. It produces. Let's say, facilitates growth for those things that live in the water. Umehem hadagim is davgim, and from that's how fish can have children. The way the Radal explains it, we just said before that salt water is destructive. Salt water stops the continuation. It doesn't. If you try watering your plants with salt water, you're going to kill the plants. So I think the Medrash is sort of bothered by. So how do they have all these animals that live in the ocean? How do they reproduce and keep multiplying? Like the Spitz reproduction is the reproduction of fish. Yifru v'yirbu kedagim. Right? V'yidgu l'roi v'karavaras. I had in the 6th parasha. V'yidgu, you should become like fish. V'yidgu. So how do they reproduce if they live in salt water? Salt water stops the continuation. It destroys. So to that, the Medrash is answering, no, besides the salt water, the fish also get nourishment from rainwater. There's actually...
We already said that the Ahara, when they combine with the sea, they get their bottom. They become like the sea, okay? The rainwater also, as soon as it hits the sea, becomes like the sea.
Yeah, asking good. The Maisa, there is a medrash that says that
there's also there are two completely different ecosystems. What's outside of the ocean and what's in the ocean. Okay?
That's also true.
The fish are part of the ecosystem. They're not. It's not a bad thing, salt water, for them. They have the means of dealing with it.
There's a medrash that says that like the fish, when the rain comes, the fish jump up from the water from the ocean to go eat the rain, because just like a person who wants to go and learn, so you go and you jump up to your opportunity, even though you have a lot of water, you want to get more water.
So we're going to know it's better water than salty water.
Right.
That's what I said.
Something like that. The Radal brings such a medrash. I don't know. I don't know exactly how this works in with the Metzias.
I don't know. I was only thinking maybe if there's no rivers and no rain, you would get to a point where it's so salty. But if it's when it's like when it has balance,
it keeps getting replenished with fresh water. Yeah, that makes sense.
See the balance, but we have like 20 kilometers down the road. We have the Yamamela. This is approved that when it gets to that point, there's no life.
Right.
No. Right.
Oh, maybe 1 microbe, whatever. Someone said that they found some kind of really like a rare kind of life in the Yamamela. I heard someone say, I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't even know if it's true. But maybe that's the point. If you don't have the waters,
right.
The rain, and the rivers,
so it needs the rainwater to dilute the salt.
You'll keep evaporating. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, you're saying good.
You get to some point, there'll be no life.
I forgot to mention before that the Radal points out that in Hilchos Shabbos in Siman Shin Lamed Vav, so the Shulchan Aruch says that you're allowed to, or maybe I think it's a Ramah, that you're allowed to urinate on like plants or whatever on Shabbos, because it's not called watering them, because urine is salty water, and it's really just it's not for their benefit, it's for their detriment.
I think it's on maybe 20 kilometers. I think it's 20 miles.
Same as Shemitah.
It's like a 40 kilometers thing.
You can urinate on the ground in Shemitah.
What?
Same with Shemitah.
Right, the same with Shemitah.
Weeds.
Where do you go?
No, but the point is, you're killing the weeds, and I want to kill the weeds because it's not good for the plants. So that's...
You're not allowed,
that's a good
question,
thing.
you're not allowed to have shvach. You're not allowed to give shvach to the...
Right.
Maybe this is not necessarily giving...
Yeah, because I'm killing the weed.
I don't know if urine is really going to kill it. It could be a little damage it, but I don't know if it's going to... Unless its only nourishment is if you keep urinating on it for like a long time, maybe.
So make sure it's rosebush.
Rosebush. I don't know what you're talking about.
Make sure it's not a weed.
I hear. Okay. Some the Radha also he brings a pasuk of Kasher Yered Ageshem Meshalag Min Shalayim Mishama Lo Yashuv Kiim Hirvas Oretz V'Halida V'Tzmicha V'Nasan Zera LaZayreya. The rainwater gives Zera LaZayreya. It gives seed to those that create seed. So he says that this is a remnant to the idea that the rainwater gives the koyach to reproduce to things that otherwise wouldn't be able to have that koyach. Okay.
I don't know if this is Nogeya. It might be. You can tell me that the vort about the fact that Egypt has a river.
Yeah.
And Eretz Yisrael has rain.
Yeah.
They have constant flow. We need to pray to Hashem. They don't. Does this have something to do here, perhaps, that the rivers, they support life, but they're also food for the
game of
the rain is just for zera. I'm not sure what that means even still.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Zera him lasher bayam. Zera. It's not zera. It supports zera, but it's not.
I'm not sure. Alright, so now the Medrash is going to speak about different things that historically happened on the 5th day of the week, on Thursday. And it shows us some interesting examples. B'chamishi nefchu kol hayom l'dom b'Mitzrayim. On the 5th day, on Thursday, all the waters in Mitzrayim turned into blood. Makastam. That was the beginning of Makastam. B'chamishi yotza v'seinim b'Mitzrayim. On the 5th day of creation, on Thursday, Klal Yisrael went out of Mitzrayim. That was Yetzias Mitzrayim. B'chamishi omdu meimei hayardin lifnei Aron bris Hashem. On Thursday, the waters of the Jordan River stopped in front of the Aron bris Hashem when Klal Yisrael was crossing the Jordan River in the time of Yeshua. It was on a Thursday. B'chamishi sasam Chizkiyo es hamayanos shahayu b'Yerushalayim. On a Thursday, Chizkiyo, the king, he stuffed the what's it called, the springs that brought water into Yerushalayim. He stuffed them in anticipation of Sennacherib's siege of Yerushalayim. He didn't want Sennacherib to be able to drink those waters. He didn't want Sennacherib's army to drink those waters. Shenamar says in the pasuk, "V'hu Yechizkiyo sosam es moitza meimei gichen ha'elyon." These are different things that happened on Thursday, and if you think about it a little bit better, they all have to do with water, pashtus, except for one of them. Yeah, you want Makas Dam, Yitzis Mitzrayim, crossing the Jordan, and Chizkiyo stuffing the what's it
supposed to be a good thing, like that he stopped the spring.
Oh, so
it says in Brachos the Holy Prayer.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the Vavam and Beis, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a Mishnah in Pesachim.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a bad thing. So the Radal discusses that, and the Radal says that there were two. In some Chazal say that it was a bad thing, and Ovis Rav Nosson it seems like it was a good thing. Ovis Rav Nosson Perek Beis, the Radal says that it seems like it was a good thing that he did this. And the Radal wants to say that over here it sounds like from the fact that we put this in the list that it's a good thing also. Okay, I'm not sure if it's such a raya from here. But then in a footnote, the Radal brings down from the Maaseh Rav Chaim Vital, from the Talmud of the Arizal, that the reason that really Chizkiyahu was supposed to be Mashiach, and the reason why he didn't become Mashiach was because of this Avera, that he stuffed the spring. I seem to remember there's a Gemara, someone else that it says that.
The door of the base of Mikdash.
And you gave it to Sancheiriv.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess the Gemara is saying the Arizal is saying like this is the Avera that caused it that he became not Mashiach. But I seem to remember elsewhere that it says it's because he didn't sing Shira after the story with Sancheiriv. I think that's a Gemara in Sanhedrin. I didn't check it up. I was just as I was looking at it tonight. I remembered this. But yeah, so the wants to bring a riot from here that it was a good thing. The Medrash held that it was a good thing, but I don't know if we have to say that. Al Kapanim. Okay, so there's a few nekudas over here. One of them is like this. The Radal points out that I think we mentioned this before, that it says in Seder Olam that the Mishpat of Mitzrayim was Yud Beis Chodesh. It took 12 months for Hashem to judge the Egyptians when they were in the Golus Mitzrayim. So it says that Hashem took 12 months to judge the Egyptians. So what does it mean Mishpat Mitzrayim was Yud Beis Chodesh? That means that from the time that Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu at the Sneh until Yetzias Mitzrayim was exactly 12 months to the day. Tesvav Nisan to Tesvav Nisan. So in these 12 months, we had the 10 Makkos, and the Medrash also says that Moshe Rabbeinu disappeared for 3 months. He decided he's taking a vacation and he doesn't want to do this, whatever. So it's not clear when these 3 months happened. Did these 3 months that Moshe Rabbeinu decided to stop, was it middle of the 10 Makkos, or was it before the 10 Makkos? So the Vilna Gaon and the Yaibetz and other Mefarshim on Seder Olam, they say that it happened before the 10 Makkos, not in the middle of the 10 Makkos. And the Radal says that there's a raya from our Medrash over here, because it says over here that Makkos Dam happened on a Thursday. And it says in the next line, the Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday. Now, if this Yud Beis Chodesh is from Tesvav Nisan to Tesvav Nisan, if the beginning of the Makkos started on Tesvav Nisan, and it was the third, and we're saying it was a Thursday, it can't be that the next year Tesvav Nisan will be a Thursday, because like Rabbi Kolodny said the other week, that from one year to the other year, it's not going to be the same day of the week. Tesvav Nisan this year is going to be, if it's a Sunday, then next year, according to the old Cheshbonos, not the way we have the set calendar, but the way it used to work, it would have to be the next year. There would be a Wednesday, 4 days. Ein ben Rosh Hashanah Rosh Hashanah el dalad yamim, and if it was Ibra year, it would be 5 days. 5 days. So if Tesvav Nisan is Sunday this year, next year it's going to be either a Wednesday if it's not an Ibra year, or a Thursday if it is an Ibra year. So how could it be that Tesvav Nisan, it would be the day that Makkos Dam started, and then the next it was a Thursday, and then the next year Yetzias Mitzrayim, Tesvav Nisan would be also a Thursday? Can't be. So it has to be that Makkos Dam started on a Thursday is not talking about Tesvav Nisan. And we mentioned before that it was actually during Tammuz. The Makkos Dam happened on Tammuz. So then you have each Makkah took a month. You have Tammuz of Elul, Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar, and then Nisan was the last Makkah, and that's when they went out of Mitzrayim. That's what the Radal says over here. The second Nakuda also, it says that Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday, saying that Tesvav Nisan in the year of Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday. So the Radal points out that this is actually totally in a machlekes in the Gemara and Shas, and I sort of disagree with what the Radal is saying. What he's saying is true according to one answer of the Gemara, but not according to all the answers of the Gemara. Let me explain it. There's a machlekes in the Gemara, Mitzachas Shabbos, on Daf Pevavam and Beis. The Gemara brings a machlekes. What day of the month of Sivan did Klal Yisrael accept the Torah? Was it the 6th of Sivan or the 7th of Sivan? The Rabbanan hold that the Torah was given on the 6th of Sivan. Rabbi Yossi holds that the Torah is given on the 7th of Sivan. That's Pevavam and Beis. The Gemara brings lots of different questions and answers and different things over here. And Pei Zayin and Beis, the Gemara asks a question on the Rabbanan. The Gemara says like this: Tashma, Nisan, the month of Nisan, Sheba Yotzu Yisrael Mitzrayim, when Klal Yisrael went out of Mitzrayim, Ba'arba Asar Shachtu Pischeihem. 1 second. Yeah. Ba'arba Asar Shachtu Pischeihem. On the 14th, they shechted the Korban Pesach in the evening. Ubachamish Asar Yotzu, and on the 15th they left. And the Gemara says, and the Brisa says, V'oisei Hayom Chamish B'Shabbos Haya. That day that they left, that was a Thursday. And then the Gemara makes a cheshbon. This is a little, it's complicated, but it's really simple math. It's just the way it works in the calendar is that the first day of the month, the 8th day of the month, the 15th day of the month, and the 22nd day of the month are all going to be on the same day of the week, right? Because it's all 7 days plus 1 day, so they're all going to be on the same day of the week. Right? So the Gemara is saying like this: if the 15th of the month was Thursday, that means that the first of the month was also Thursday. So Rosh Chodesh Nisan in the year of Yetzias Mitzrayim was a Thursday. That's what the Gemara says. Now, the way it works also with the months is like this. A month, b'derech klal, is 29 days. Which means that whatever day the month starts, the next month is going to start on the next day of the week. So if Rosh Chodesh Nisan was on a Thursday, so Rosh Chodesh Iyar is going to be on a Friday. If Rosh Chodesh Nisan was 29 days. But it happens to be that Nisan is almost always 30 days. So it's going to be, let's call it 2 days Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh Nisan is on a Thursday. Rosh Chodesh Iyar is going to be Friday, Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the next month, is going to be Sunday. Right? So now, that means that the first of Sivan was on a Sunday. So the Rabbanan held that the Torah was given on the 6th of Sivan. So if the first of Sivan was a Sunday, so you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It would come out that according to the Rabbanan, the Torah is given on Friday. But the Gemara says, wait a second, we know the Torah is given on Shabbos. So how could it be that if Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday, you can't hold that the Torah was given on Vav Sivan? It has to be that it was given on Zion Sivan. That's what the Gemara says. So the Gemara answers, no. Iyar was a full month, meaning there were 2 days Rosh Chodesh of Sivan. So Rosh Chodesh Sivan wasn't on Sunday. Rosh Chodesh Sivan was on Monday, which would make it, if the first of the month was Monday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. The 6th is on Shabbos. So it works out good. So that's the first answer of the Gemara. That the Rabbanan that held that the Torah was given on Vav Sivan, they held that there were 2 days Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Then the Gemara asks the opposite question. The Gemara brings a brisa from Seder Olam, which was written by Rabbi Yossi, and it says in Seder Olam that Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Friday. And so the Gemara says, wait a second, Rabbi Yossi, you hold that the Torah is given on Zion Sivan. How could you say that? How could you say that Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Friday? Look, if Tes Nisan was on Friday, that means Rosh Chodesh Nisan was Friday. Rosh Chodesh Iyar is going to be Sunday, Shabbos Sunday. Rosh Chodesh Sivan is going to be Monday. Zion Sivan is going to be on a Sunday, not on a Shabbos. So what are you going to do with that? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi will tell you that brisa is going no. Rabbi Yossi is going to tell you. That's what I would answer, because I would answer, yeah, there was only 1 day Rosh Chodesh of Nisan was chaser. But no, the Gemara answers, no, that price is going according to the Rabbanan. So now, according to, and this happens to be the last question and answer of the sugya. So many Mefarshim, and apparently the Radal included, took out from this that the Rabbanan that hold that Vav Sivan, that the Torah is given on Vav Sivan, they held Yetzias Mitzrayim was on Friday, and Rabbi Yossi, who held that the Torah was given on Zion Sivan, he holds that Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday. And now the Radal says that our Medrash says that the Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Thursday. It's only going according to Rabbi Yossi. And I will tell you, no, it can also be going according to the Rabbanan, as long as you say that Iyar was Malay, and that there were 2 days Rosh Chodesh Sivan. No, Nisan is for sure Malay. That's the assumption. That's the assumption of the Gemara.
Before it was 29.
What?
You said before it was 29.
No, I'm calling 2 days Rosh Chodesh, meaning that the month before was Malay. It's just the easier way of saying it. But 30, if it's 2 days Rosh Chodesh, it means that there's 30 days, not 29.
But you're saying that for Iyar.
The Gemara assumed it for sure for Nisan, and then the Gemara was Mechadesh the Iyar also. That Rosh Chodesh, the Iyar was Malay, meaning Rosh Chodesh Sivan was 2 days. Okay, so it's really two truths in the Gemara, and it's not clear exactly if the Gemara falls off from the first teretz. B'chlal, the Yad David wants to say that it's a machlekes between the Marshal and the Marshal in Pshat and Taisus over there. Whether the Gemara doesn't hold the original teretz anymore, I don't want to really get into that. But when the Radal says that this medrash is only going according to Rabbi Yossi, I'm not so convinced. That's one Nekuda the Radal says. Okay. The other Nekuda that the Radal says about this is that later on in Pirkei Eliezer it says that Tanya in Parak Mem Beis it says Tanya Rabbi Eliezer Omer b'yom shekavu hamayim, on the day that the waters were gathered, on that day the waters dried up and it went into 12 different paths, and that was the day of the Kriyas Yamsuf. Meaning, Medrash Pirkei Elazar and Parak Mem Beis is saying that Kriyas Yamsuf happened on a Tuesday. Yeah. So now we know from the Sfarim, from the Mekubalim, from other Midrashim as well. We know that as far as we know, Kriyas Yamsuf happened on the 7th day from Yetzias Mitzrayim. Right. So says the Pirkei Elazar. Let's make a cheshbon. If Yetzias Mitzrayim happened on a Thursday, like it says here in Pirkei Elazar, so Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Kriyas Yamsuf should happen on a Wednesday. So why does the Medrash say that happened on a Tuesday? So either you have to say that Medrash later on in Parak Mem Beis held that Yetzias Mitzrayim was on a Wednesday, which is a shita that we didn't have before. It's not even mentioned in the Gemara. Or you have to say that the Medrash later on held that Kriyas Yamsuf wasn't on the 7th day from Yetzias Mitzrayim, it was on the 6th day from Yetzias Mitzrayim. Okay, that's what the Radal says about that Medrash later on. Then the Radal comes and he says that, anyways, he wants to change the gears of our Medrash, because all 5 things that we mentioned, 5 things I don't remember, that we mentioned over here. What? 5 things that we mentioned over here all happened on a Thursday. All have to do with water. Makas Dam, the Yarden splitting, the Chizkiyahu being Seisim, the Mayanais. All these things have to do with water. One thing doesn't have to do with water. Yetzias Mitzrayim. What does it have to do with water? So the Radal says that it would change what it says here about Yetzias Mitzrayim happening on a Thursday. Change it to say that Kriyas Yamsuf happened on a Thursday. And then he wants to say, if Kriyas Yamsuf happened on a Thursday, that means that Yetzias Mitzrayim, according to Pirkei Elazar, was on a Friday, because Kriyas Yamsuf happened on the 7th day of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And actually, our Medrash is going according to the Rabbanan, not according to the Rabbanan. It's also going with the Rabbanan. It's going dafka according to the Rabbanan. Okay, he has a Gishmak and Cheshbon of the Radal. Another Nukuda that the Radal says is, we said that the splitting of the Yarden in the time of Yeshua ben Nun was on a Thursday. Yeah. So he brings Seder Olam says that like this. In Seder Olam it says that on the 22nd of Nisan, which was on a Sunday, that's when they started surrounding Yericho, and they surrounded it for 7 days. Actually, it just says that on the 22nd they started surrounding Yericho for 7 days, and on the 7th day, which was Shabbos, it fell. That tells you that the 22nd of Nisan that year was on a Sunday. Yeah? Because if they did it for 7 days and the 7th day was Shabbos, so the first day was Sunday. Right? And we said that the 22nd of the month is always going to be the same day of the week as the first of the month. So that's how Rosh Chodesh Nisan that year was also on a Sunday. Yeah? And the Pasuk says Beferish in Sefer Yeshua that they crossed the Yarden on the 10th of Nisan. So now if the first was on a Sunday, the 10th was on what day of the week? Sunday, Tuesday. Right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Right? So the 10th of Nisan was on a Tuesday. Now the Medrash just said that they crossed the Yarden on a Thursday, not on a Tuesday. So he says that this is also not going like the Seder Elam. It's a machlekes in the Midrashim. So these are a few things that Pirkei Elazar brings down that happened on Thursday. There's another thing that Pirkei Elazar doesn't bring down that happened on a Thursday, that is brought down in Pirush Rekech al Torah in the beginning of Parshas Miketz. It says he says in Pirush Rekech al Torah. He brings down B'Shem Pirkei Elazar, in the name of Pirkei Elazar, but we don't have it in our Pirkei Elazar. I mentioned in the introduction share that the Rishonim bring things in the name of Pirkei Elazar that we don't have, and this is one of them. That Pirkei Elazar says that day that Paro had the dream that eventually helped Yosef. That was what Yosef got out of jail that day. The next morning, that was on a Thursday. That's what the Rekach brings in the name of Pirkei Elazar. And also that it was Rosh Hashanah. That's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah that says that Yosef got out of jail on Rosh Hashanah. So the Rekach brings the shame of Pirkei Elazar. And also I found a similar idea in Tosfos HaSholem in the end of Parshas Vayeshev. It says that the story with the mashke, the Sar Mashke and the Sar Oife, that on the third day Paro hanged one of them and he let the other one go free. So it says, "Vayi bayam hashlishi yom huledes es Parai." So Tosfos HaShalom says that was Rosh Hashanah and it was also Thursday. It doesn't bring Hashem Pirkei Leviathan, but maybe he says it's Rosh Hashanah because like that sort of facilitated Yosef getting out of jail. So that's why he said it was Rosh Hashanah, because the Gemara said that Yosef got out of jail Rosh Hashanah. Maybe he understood that that's what the Gemara means. But Thursday, where are you getting Thursday from? Okay, it's an interesting idea. But what's even more interesting, I find this shtickle interesting, is that there's a connection between Rosh Hashanah and Thursday, in that the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday, which is Tehillim Perek Pei Aleph, Harninu Goyim, what's the lashon of the pasuk?
It's the one with the shofar.
Yeah. What's the Goyim? What? No, they're all in Tehillim. Tehillim Pei Aleph. So that's the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday, as the Mishnah in the end of Mesachas Talmud says. And then there's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah and Daf Yud it's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Daf Lamed Amid Beis. It says that was the song that they used to sing by the Korban Musaf on Rosh Hashanah. So it's the Shir Shel Yom for Rosh Hashanah, and like the Gronics that say special Shir Shel Yom for Yom Tovim. So they say that Tehillim Pei Aleph on Rosh Hashanah. And then on Thursday it's also the same Shir Shel Yom for both days. And there also is a kasha to Yosef, because it says in that Kapitel Tehillim, it says Edus Bi Yosef Summer. So there's some sort of connection here. I don't know exactly how to be masber, but we already see there's something brewing over here. That's one more thing that wasn't mentioned in the Pirkei Leviathan that happened on a Thursday. Another one, I don't know if I can mention this or not, but I'm going to mention it anyways, and if you're going to scream at me, so scream at me after I say it. But I was once reading the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls was a bunch of scrolls that they found in a cave near the Dead Sea. And it was written by some group of Jews, but we don't know exactly if they were like Tzedukim, or there was some far off sect that Lav Dafka was part of mainstream Judaism at the time. But they wrote these.
There lived like a bunch of guys living together with their wives, and they went to the mikveh like 5 times a day, something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. They were machmirim. I don't know exactly. There's a lot of questions about them. We don't know exactly what. But Al Kapanim, they have all kinds of. I don't know. They have all kinds of different scrolls that they wrote. Most of the rub of their scrolls are just copies of books that we have from Tanakh. But some of them are original ideas, and some of the scrolls are called, or what they call a pesher. We call it medrash. It's like expounding on psukim, whatever. So they call the same thing, the same idea. They call it a pesher, like an explanation. So they have a scroll called the pesher. It's known as the Pesher Bereshis, the commentary or explanation on the Sefer Bereshis. The technical name for this scroll is a really cool name. It's 4Q252. So if you want to look it up, 4Q252. Because it says in Pesher Bereshis, it brings down the story of the Mabul that we have in Parshas Noach. It basically is the same thing as we have it in the Torah, but they added some details. The details that they felt the need to add was what day of the week every step of Parshas Noach happened. So if you had difficulty trying to make the cheshbonos in Parshas Noach, this happened on this day of the month, and this month, and the fear of Elazar and Rabbi Shua, which month we're talking about, whatever, and it's all crazy difficult to make a cheshbon. So add this to the cheshbon. What day of the week thing happened in the story? And according to their version of things, the rain stopped coming down by the story of the Mabul on a Thursday. They felt the need to speak it out, that it happened on a Thursday. So I don't know if I should mention it or not, but that's another thing that happened on a Thursday. Fine. So these are different things that happen on Thursdays. Now the Medrash is going to go back to Hashem creating what Hashem created on Thursday. B'chamishi hishritz min hamayim Leviathan nochash boriach midurei b'mayim hatachtonim. On Thursday, crawled out of the waters the Leviathan nochash boriach. Let's call it. Our art scroll translates it as a bar-like snake or serpent. Bariach means bar-like. That's what they translate it as. Medurei b'mayim hatachtonim, which lives in the deep seas. the Leviathan, the Leviathan in English they call it. Why is it called Nachash Bariach, like a bar-like snake? Ubein shnei snapirav haburiach hatichain shel eretz oimed. Between its two fins is where the briach hatichain of the world stands. Now, I don't know what it means, the briach hatichain of the world, but I do know that the phrase briach hatichain appears in Chumash, in Parshas Truma, when we're talking about the building of the Mishkan. You had the krushim, which were the vertical let's say beams that made up the wall of the base of the Mishkan, and then you had brichim, which were poles that went horizontally that held the different krushim together. And the briach hatichain was the middle one. There were three horizontal poles, one on the bottom, one on the top, and one in the middle. And the one in the middle, Chazal say, was made out of one shtickle of something. I have a whole richas of what that thing was, but it was made of one thing that went through all three sides of the Mishkan. It like sort of like curved itself. So that's what the briach hatichain is. It's like the middle thing that goes around the whole way. So I think that based on that idea, when we're talking about the briach hatichain of the world, we mean the equator. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And that somehow the equator stands between the two fins of the Leviathan. Basically, the Leviathan is really big. That's the point. The Leviathan is really big. The Radal has an interesting discussion over here about the Leviathan I want to get into, like this. The Gemara says in Bava Basra Daf Ayin Dalad Amid Beis, Omer Rav Yehuda Omer Rav, Kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olamai zachar u'nekeva b'ra'am. Everything that Hashem created in the world, He created a male one and a female one. Af Leviathan nachash bariach v'Leviathan nachash akaloson zachar u'nekeva b'ra'am. Even the Leviathan, and he says two nukudas about Leviathan. Nachash bariach, a bar-like serpent, like we're saying over here, because it's like straight and it goes around the whole world like a bar. The Leviathan nachash akaloson, and the Leviathan, which is a twisted snake. Zachar nekeva bram. Hashem created them a male one and a female one. The way the Rashbam in Bava Basra explains it, he says that Nachash Bariach is the male Leviathan and Nachash HaKalasan is the female Leviathan. There's two types of Leviathans. The Gemara says, so just like Hashem created everything male and female, also Leviathan Hashem created male and female. And then the Gemara says, so what happened? Hashem saw that the two Leviathans, they got together, they would destroy the whole world. So what did Hashem do? Hashem castrated the male Leviathan so that it can't have kids. But no, I'm reading the wrong thing. Am I? Yeah, I'm reading the wrong thing. I'm reading, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Messiah the Zachar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu castrated the male Leviathan, v'hoyag in a keva, and he killed the female Leviathan. And Hashem salted the female Leviathan for the future. And the Gemara says later on that in the future, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make a suda for tzaddikim with the with the basar of the Leviathan. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make a sukkah out of the skin of the Leviathan. That's the Gemara later on. By the way, Stam, why is Hashem going to make a suda out of the basar of the Leviathan? Why not beef, venison, something? Why dafka from a fish? So they say over, the pshat is that all the tzaddikim are going to come around and Hashem is going to say, okay, we're going to have a major suda tonight. And one tzaddik is going to say, but I only eat Eilach Chreidis. The other tzaddik is going to go, I only eat Landa. I only eat Reuben. I only eat Chassidish Shechita. I only eat Litvish Shechita. Okay. No, okay, we're not having meat. We're having fish. That's what they say. No Shechita. They say it as a joke, but you have to know how much I miss there is. Well, what's the Sharabar? And the, what's it called? Behema Hare Elef.
Sounds very modern.
Modern what?
Yeah, like it's something that they'll get to nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
You have to go live in the States, it wouldn't be fun.
That's what they say. They said, what's it called? They said that, I think that it was the Chazon Ish said, when this whole thing was starting, organized the Kash was starting, so apparently the Chazon Ish said, there's going to come a day that people aren't going to eat kosher, they're going to eat hechsher. Al Kapanim, that's what it says Leviathan. So it says that Hashem created a male and a female Leviathan. Hashem was Messiah the Zachar, and he salted the female, killed the female one, and salted it for loss of Lavai. So the Radal says it sounds like from the Gemara that Hashem created a male and a female Leviathan. But from our Medrash, it doesn't say anything about a male and a female Leviathan. It sounds like there was only one Leviathan. And the Radal also Medayik, when we talked about the fish and the birds or whatever, each one we said Zachar and Nekeva, Zachar and Nekeva. Here it doesn't say Zachar and Nekeva. So the Radal wants to say that maybe Hashem didn't create a female and a male one, according to the Medrash. Hashem only created one. Well, Agav, Rabbeinu Bechaye in Karak Kemach, on the word Sinas Chinam, he says that Hashem killed was Messiah the Zachar and killed the Nekeva of the Leviathan, that happened on Thursday. The Gemara doesn't say that it happened on Thursday, but Rabbeinu Bechaye says that it happened on the Thursday. That's what the Radal says, and the Radal asks a question from the pasuk in Yeshaya. This expression Leviathan Nachash Bariach, Leviathan Nachash Hakalasan, is coming from Sefer Yeshaya Chav Zayin pasuk Aleph, where the Navi Yeshaya seemingly refers to both, and we said before. The Rashbam says that one's talking about the Zachar, one's talking about the Nekeva, and Rabbeinu Bechaye actually in Parshas Bereishis also brings this pasuk as a raya that there were two. The Gemara doesn't bring the pasuk as a raya, but he brings it as a raya that there were two, Zachar and Nekeva. The Radha asks, so how can we say from our Medrash that it was one? So he says that no, it was really one, but sometimes it can be straight and sometimes it can be curvy. So it's like two aspects of the same one. And then he says that the Vilna Gaon and his Pirush and the Safra Tznusa also says that it was one that gets into Kabbalah. I don't know what he's talking about, but Al Kapana is the shtickle machlikas over here. If the Leviathan was created two or originally was created one. It's interesting to note that we spoke about the fish, the birds, and the shratzim, and then separately we're talking about the Leviathan. Really, Leviathan is a fish. So why are we talking about it separately than all other fish? So really, it's not a question on the Pirkei D'Beloza. Really, it's a question on the Psukim. The Psukim says separately from Hashem creating this fish. It says Vayivar Ekim Es HaTananim Bayom. Hashem created the Tananim Agdolim. It says it separately, and then Rashi says over there that it's talking about the two Leviathans. So so the Ramban in Parshas Bereishis says that the Torah spoke out the Leviathan differently because it was bigger, it was different than everything else. So the Torah spoke it out.
I thought it's a mammal.
What?
I thought it's a mammal.
Who said it's mammal?
I always thought it.
The Leviathan, it's a fish. It's a type of a big fish.
That's like a snake.
No, we know that it's he's not.
I don't know I don't know in what way it's like a snake, but
Fish. But he used the word nefesh. That's odd.
Everyone thought it was a whale.
like your boss, it was a big fish, a big cheese.
In terms of
Stop.
It's not a mammal.
yeah, it's not a mammal.
But so just like the pasuk speaks it out separately than the rest of the fish because it was a bigger thing. So that's why Pirkei D'Beloza also did the same thing. Fine, reading weiter. We want to try to finish the parak. If you want to leave, you can leave whenever you want. I don't know. You keep showing me your clock. I don't know why.
I showed it to you once.
Oh, okay.
You asked me to not.
Okay. Say
What
it.
time it was?
Did I?
Not tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All the different big sea creatures in the sea are the food of the Leviathan. So the biggest whale that you can find, that's actually the food of the Leviathan. That's what it eats. That's not the Leviathan itself. We're gonna speak about the food that the Leviathan eats in the next parak, Metzah Hashem in the next parak, and we're gonna speak more about the Leviathan in the next parak, Metzah Hashem. But the big sea creatures.
Any creature is a Tanin Gadol?
I don't know. I'm not sure which ones exactly. Sea manatee or a killer whale or all these different zaken.
The Torah says something about Tanin, right? Tanin Gadol.
Yeah. Fine. The Mezonos of the Leviathan. The next line, V'Hakadosh Baruch Hu Seichik Imay Kol Yom Imay Yom Yom. The Hakadosh Baruch Hu plays with the Leviathan. I don't know what that means, but that's a pasuk in Sefer Tehillim that Hashem plays with it. The Bayis HaGadol that you have on the bottom wants to take it out over here because it's going to say that same line in a moment. V'hu Pesach Piv, the Leviathan opens its mouth. V'Hatanin HaGadol Sheba Yom Elihei Achel Hu Bayreach V'Nas Nechlas Tech Piv Shel Leviathan. The Leviathan just opens its mouth, and whatever sea creature it was supposed to eat that day will just like enter its mouth, and then it'll eat it. And that's how it works. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu seichik by, and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu plays with the Leviathan. I don't know what that means, or jokes, laughs with the Leviathan. Shneimar Leviathan zeh yasarta l'sachik by. Okay, fine. The Meir says, okay, now we're going back to all the things that Hashem created on the fifth day of creation, on Thursdays.
According to this, are we allowed to have pets?
Pets?
Someone asked me the other day, why already people don't have dogs? Like, why are they not allowed to? Why such a hate, against pets and stuff? Yeah, like,
Dogs have chutzpah. Hani kalbin dachatzifin. No, but what's it called? Whatever.
You're allowed to have fish, you can tell.
You're allowed to have fish. One of my Rebbeim has fish in his apartment. It's very random. Like how many he's come out Yerushalmi. It's like how many Yerushalmis you know that have fish in their apartment. But okay, he says it's to entertain his grandkids. All these things that are created in the land, that were created from the land, let's say the animals that we're going to discuss in Perek Yud Aleph or whatever, they reproduce in the land. But things that were created from the waters, they reproduce in the waters. The Radha says they reproduce also in the waters. They reproduce sometimes in the land, sometimes in the water. I believe there are some fish that lay eggs like in the sand, in dry land, not in the water. And then I don't know exactly what happens. The fish become like worms or something, and they come into the water, something like that, and then they develop into fish. I think there's such a thing. I'm not sure exactly. Except for all different types of birdies, because birds are created from the mayim. At least that's what it seems like Pirkei Eliezer was saying. We discussed that last week, what birds exactly were created from. But birds were created from the water. They give birth. They reproduce in the land. Shenemar va'oif yirev baretz. That's what it says about where they reproduce. All these things that were created from the waters, so they reproduce with eggs. All fish reproduce with eggs. Fish don't give birth to fish. Is dolphins an exception to that? I'm not sure. Dolphins aren't fish in the zoologist's definition, but dolphins are definitely fish. If we go with our definition, everything that lives in the water is a fish.
Whales?
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Even our
That's
definition.
sweet. If a cow crawls off,
What?
You see a cow crawling off the,
Well, like last week, yeah.
Turtle is not a fish.
Turtle.
And it stays in the ocean. So is it a fish, according to our definition?
I don't know.
I don't know if
It doesn't live in. It could. I don't know.
everything that lives in the water is considered a fish.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know that alpi insects that grow in the water that will. We give it everything.
They have
pretty much fish, but you have to know.
Yeah. Let's just finish up. The Elish and Nivrum and these animals which are created from the land, they give live birth. They don't. They're like mammals, whatever. They can also. The way I would read it is they also have live birth. Things that live in the water, they don't have live birth, and things that live on the ground, they have live birth. Not live. I'm sorry. Created from the water and created from the ground. That's what it means. That what were you saying? You finished.
Fish.
Fine. Fish. What?
In the argument in halacha, it's a question.
Fish
of,
heads? Were you
is
singing
a
fish heads?
Sometimes.
What were you singing?
No, not singing that. But it is brought that not everything in water is considered a fish according to Chazal.
Well, who says that?
I know that some say yes, everything is a fish. Therefore, if you find a creature in the water.
So look at the Radah that the Radah has a whole arichas about this in the beginning of the parak in Ois Vav. Ratz Hashem, you'll look at it. It has a whole arichas. And I was once speaking to one of these Tchilas people about it also, because it says that Tchilas is the Chilazon, or actually it's supposed to be pronounced like Halzun or something from Arabic. But the Halzun is supposed to be a fish, but it's not really a fish, it's like a crustacean or something. And I asked someone about it, and one of these anything that lives in the sea is called a fish, even if it's like some sort of insect that has a shell, they also call that a fish. I don't know exactly how these things work. Al Capone, I just want to share some thoughts on this idea that I had that we discussed over here. I'm actually surprised that no one asked this. Maybe you're thinking about this, but no one asked it. We said that salt has the property that it destroys things. The salt water, if you pour it on your plants, is going to kill it. Or the things that live in the salty things, the Medrash had a problem. Like, how do they reproduce? This type of salt destroys. Salt has the property of destruction. And on the one hand, on the other hand, we said that Kadosh Baruch Hu, by the Leviathans, Kadosh Baruch Hu is haragas in the keva, who malchal at tzaddikim lasid lovei. Kadosh Baruch Hu killed in the keva, and he took the meat and he salted the meat for people to eat lasid lovei. Salt also has the property that it preserves things. In the olden days, before they had refrigerators, they would salt meat and fish and cheese and everything to keep it good. It keeps it good. So it would seem that these are two contradictory ideas. On the one hand, it's destroying, and on the other one, it keeps things going. I'm not asking a kash on the teva. I'm saying, what do we gain? What's the meaning of this?
It's funny. You're right. Like, it destroys whatever is living, and it keeps whatever is dead.
It keeps it dead. Make sure it doesn't come to life.
No, like it's separated from whatever source of life. Like he doesn't have blood anymore, water.
So I was thinking there's like the spitz destruction that we see in salt.
Drive things out. Like that's what he do.
No, I'm not really asking mitzvah teva. I know mitzvah teva why both things are true, because salt is really destructive. It destroys things, and it's so destructive that it takes your meat and makes your meat. It protects your meat from all kinds of bacteria and whatever from growing in it, because it destroys it, and it's inhabitable for the bacteria. Fine. But I'm saying, when you look at the big picture, on the one hand it preserves, on the other hand it destroys. We find in the psukim in Parshas Nitzavim, it says that Gofris v'melach Sreifel k'la'aretza lo yisizar v'lo yismiach lo yalavach kol esav. Hashem is giving curses if you don't keep the Torah. Gofris v'melach, sulfur and salt, fire and brimstone. It's going to descend from the heavens and it's going to destroy. Lo yisizar, you're not going to be able to plant things. Lo yisatzmiach, nothing's going to grow. Lo yalavach kol esav, no grass is going to grow. Like Hashem made an upheaval in Sodom. Sodom turned into, people say that Sodom turned into Yam HaMelach. It's a complete and utter destruction. That's what salt is. That's on one hand. On the other hand, we use it to preserve things. So how do you understand it? So there's another Indian of salt in the Torah we find, that the Torah says, Lo yisash bis melach there's something that the Torah calls a bris melach. There's a special treaty that Hashem created with melach, a bris melach, that Hashem said you have to put salt on korbanos. What's the Indian of bris melach? This is a nekuda of preserving. The salt is used for, it's not really for preserving, because korbanos, they have a certain time limits, but it's kilu preserving. So what's the Indian of preserving salt? On the one hand, on the other hand, Hashem uses salt to destroy things.
It's to give meat a good taste.
What?
Yeah, sweeten the meat. Whatever.
Salt makes it sweet? I don't know.
No. It says lahamtik.
Okay.
Lahamtik tamosh el basar.
Oh, you're saying l'shitascha, what lahamtik means?
Lahamtik means
like to make it taste good. Not sweet. Yeah. I hear. Well, I have a little slightly different mahalach.
Why we put salt on our bread?
But, okay, fine. You're right. But the Torah could have said, put honey on your meat, and the Torah actually said forget. It says, Ki chol so'er v'chol dvash lo yisaktir mimenu yishal Hashem. You can't put. Also, if you put honey on the carbon, you're doing an isser. The apostle is mamish bad stuff.
Because it says exactly whatever you can do, whatever.
Yeah. So what's the meaning of bris melach? Because on one hand we find that it destroys, and on one hand we find that it preserves. That's really what's bothering me. So I want to explain it like this. The Indian of a bris is when you have two two options, or one of the inyanim of a bris is that when you have two options and you're taking one option and saying, I'm going like this. For example, we find by Avram Avinu, the most famous bris, the bris ben Absarim. So Avram Avinu takes the animals, he cuts them in half, and he walks in between them. What's that symbolizing? The way I understand that, it's symbolizing that I have a choice. I have this side and I have this side, and I'm going to choose this one of the sides. I'm symbolizing that by walking between these two halves of the animals. Bris ben Absarim. Bris is that you're choosing your decision. You're choosing which path you're taking. Two exact opposites. In Parshas Netzavim it says, "Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lefnei Hashem lekechem v'yisharem shevdechem ziknechem shevdechem kol ish Yisrael ta'apchem nishechem v'gercha asher b'kerach v'chanach mamish everyone v'chatei v'tzach ad shavim mimecha." Why is everyone standing together at the end of Moshe Rabbeinu's life? Lo avracha b'vris Hashem lekechem u'v'olasei asher Hashem lekechem kaisem chayim. To go take you through the bris that Hashem is going to make with you. What's the bris that Hashem made with Klal Yisrael in Parshas Netzavim? So look later on the Psukim. It says Hashem says, Hashem says, look, I'm putting in front of you today the Chaim, V'atoiv, life and good, and death and bad. And then it says, the two Psukim later, it says, Haydeisi b'chem hayom shamayim v'aretz, Haydeisi b'chem hayom es Hashem v'es v'aretz, I swear that I gave to you Chaim and I gave to you Chaim and Moves. I put it in front of you. And you chose Chaim so that you continue living and your descendants, you and your descendants will continue living. So the bris over there in Parashas Netzavim, where there was a decision to be made, a choice. Am I going to take good or bad? And we're going dafka with the good so that we could preserve ourselves and our descendants after us. That was the bris over there in Parshas Netzavim. So the inyan of a bris is to choose one option over the other option. We find also by the inyan of bris milah. So bris milah, a person is created with a koyach of haylada, the ability to give birth, let's say, to give offspring, right? So a person can use that koyach for good or for bad. You could use it for creating mazikim and shedim and all kinds of bad mamzerim, mamzer deloichai. The Gemara says things that don't live and don't continue in destruction. Or you could use that koyach for good. You could be ma'amid der yishorim and zar shel kayama and all these good things and continue Klal Yisrael. So which one do you choose? So bris milah is a representation of the fact that we're choosing the good mahalach. We're going with the good way, not with the bad way. The third thing we find out about the Sefer Yetzirah talks about bris hama'or, which is bris milah, and bris halashon, which is about the mouth. Bris krusim sosayim. With the mouth, you have the same thing. A person has a koyach dibur, the ability to speak. So a person could speak in a destructive way, where you're going to damage other people. Lashon hara, rechilus, moitzi shemra, these type of things. Nivul peh also is destructive. Klala, it could be makal people that cause destruction. A person has one option to do that. The other option, with the same mouth, you can bless people, you can help people out, you can do Torah, tefillah, ma'asim tovim with speech. So which way do you go? You have this bris im sosayim. You dafka want to use your koyach hadibur for good things, for Torah, for tefillah, to create a hemshech of a continuation, to have, let's say, to use your speech to make good things to happen in the world. Let's say specifically like Torah, you have, if koyach halada can create children, koyach of dibur can create talmidim. You can have talmidim in Torah, you can have talmidim in ma'asim tovim, these type of things. So all three of these things, we find that the bris is that you're taking one option of the two options. You say you're choosing the good one over the bad one. So I think that's the inyan of salt as well. That salt, there's two, the same thing itself, with the same koyach in the world, it creates both destruction and preserving. The same koyach. And the bris melach represents the whole inyan of bris milah and the bris in Parshas Netzavim, that we're choosing the good, the constructive, not the destructive. That's the inyan of bris. And I'm mentioning this idea because I think it's appropriate for in Yonah D'Yoma. Now is starting the days, the weeks of Shovavim, and the Arizal writes that the inyan of Shovavim is it's a zman that's mesugla for what's called shmiras habris, keeping the bris. So what does that mean, keeping the bris? Keeping that decision that I'm going with the good mahalach, not the bad mahalach, in all types of things, in koyach haraya, koyach hadibur, in general, the person chooses chayim and not mavis, all these things together, that's the Indian of shmiras bris. And in the time of Shevim is a zman that's mesugel for rejuvenating that decision and refreshing a person's commitment. And Meretz Hashem will be able to do tshuva shlema, b'leiv shalem, and be mekayim the pasuk that says shuvu banim shevivim, that the wayward sons should return, and will be zeicha that Hashem will be mekayim the pasuk of shuvu alai v'shuvu aleichem. If we return to Hashem, Hashem is going to return to us. B'meher v'yameinu, amen. Thank you guys for coming.